We continue. We now look at overtrading. We're still under working capital. What is overtrading? Overtrading happens when a business tries to do too much too quickly with too little long-term capital.
Sorry, come again?
So what the company is trying to do is that it's trying to support too large a volume of trade with very little capital resources at its disposal. This can bring liquidity problems for the company. The other definition for overtrading is that the company is supporting its long-term objectives with short-term finance. If you are going to invest long-term, you need to support your investment with long-term finance, not the other way around. So overtrading brings about liquidity problems in a company. So how do you tell that this company is overtrading? We'll now look at the symptoms of overtrading.
Starting to feel like
It was then after the
and the financial interpretation.
The first symptom we'll look at is that there is a rapid increase in sales volumes, in sales revenues. So an increase in sales revenue is good on the other hand, but on the other hand also it could cause problems for the company. The second symptom is that there is a rapid increase in the volume of current assets and possibly also non-current assets.
So a rapid increase in current assets.
Okay. So this may result in inventory turnover and accounts receivable turnover slowing down. So you've got a lot of inventory which is not moving fast, and you've got these receivables because you are trying to stimulate sales. You have this inventory which you want to get rid of, so you're giving out more and more on credit, and your debtors are not paying back in good time. The third symptom is that there is only a small increase in equity, in capital.
So investors are able to see this from the financial.
Yes. So there's just a small increase, maybe through retained earnings. So the bulk of the assets is being financed on credit. Okay. So your trade receivable account will do what? Increase, and your trade account payable days increase. Because you are not collecting your cash quicker, you also start struggling paying your payables. So you start also taking long to settle your payables. So what do you end up doing? Because you don't have cash, so you go to the bank and ask for an overdraft. So you are most likely to find that your overdraft is almost or close to the ceiling that has been agreed with the bank. Now all these, you have to identify them from the financial statements. The way the question will come will give you these financial statements, and you have to interpret.
So they'll give you for 2 time periods. You have to see the change.
Yes. Okay. Some debt ratios and liquidity ratios will alter dramatically. Liquidity ratios, we know what liquidity ratios are. Current ratio, acid test ratio. Okay. Because you don't have a lot of liquidity, so these ratios will alter dramatically. Your debt ratios, so your debt also will increase. The next one is the proportion of total assets financed by proprietor capital falls. Proportion of total assets financed by proprietor capital falls, and the proportion financed by credit increases. The next one is the current ratio, and the quick ratio will fall. Thereby rendering the business into a liquidity deficit situation. So you now have a situation where your current liabilities are in excess over your current assets.
Can you just repeat that, sir? Current ratio.
So that brings us to the end of working capital management. But we now move to analyze the individual components. So we have to analyze now managing inventory on its own, managing receivables, managing payables, and managing cash. We will start with managing inventory. Why should you manage inventory? You want to manage inventory because you want to minimize the costs of holding inventory. But at the same time, you do not want to risk running out of stocks. Now, what costs do you incur as a company when you are holding inventory? You need space. So that warehouse you are either renting or you have to buy. You may need to insure your stocks against theft or fires. Each time an employee takes inventory without paying, that's a cost to you as a business. Some inventories, they deteriorate fast because of their nature, so you may have to dispose of that inventory. That's a cost to the business. But also, if you run out of stock, that client who walks out of your premises without buying what they were looking for because you've run out may not come back again. So you've lost a potential customer. Okay, so that's a lost sale. So a lost sale is also a cost.
But you don't recognize it, isn't it?
If you're a good businessman, you have to think of it.
No, I mean in the accounts, in the books.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So the inventory days ratio, which you have to memorize again, it gives an overview of a company's overall inventory position.
Inventory what? Inventory days rate.
So how do you then manage this inventory? You have to ensure that when you order this inventory, you order just enough to minimize your costs. Now, what costs? We're going to break down these costs of holding inventory. The cost of holding inventory for our study are broken down into two. You have the holding cost. These are the costs which we've already identified, such as warehouse, insurance, obsolescence, and so on. Then you also have ordering costs. When you place that order, the stationery that you write on that order, the employee who is preparing that order has to be paid. The stationery has to be paid for. The transport you are going to send to go and pick this inventory, that's an expense.
It falls under ordering costs.
Those come under ordering costs. They will not ask you at this level what is an ordering cost, what is a holding cost. But it's the formulas for each one of these which you have to memorize. The formulas will not be given to you in the exams. So, the first formula, we'll look at holding cost. The formula for holding cost is CH times Q over 2.
Q.
CH times Q over 2.
Calculator CH.
The next formula is the ordering cost, which is CO times D over Q.
CO is D over?
D over Q.
That's not all.
Yes.
D over Q or 2?
Q, Q. Then you also have PD. Which is the purchase price times the annual demand.
That's the formula for.
It's called PD.
PD, that's another formula which you need to memorize.
That's PD, PND.
PD, P for purchase price per unit,
Purchase price per unit.
D for annual demand in units, CO stands for cost of placing an order.
Wait, sorry. PG means purchase price paid.
Then CO, we said cost of placing an order. CH equals annual cost of holding 1 unit in inventory. Q, number of units. There's one more formula which you will be given in the exam. That's the EOQ formula. Economic order quantity formula, which is square root of 2 COD over CH.